The horizon is still wrapped in a heavy veil of darkness when the first faint glimmer of light begins to creep across the edges of the sky. Slowly, as if reluctant to disturb the silence of the ancient world, the sun spills its pale glow over jagged cliffs and valleys shrouded in mist. The stones are cold, wet with the breath of night, and the air carries the weight of a chill that seeps into bone and skin alike. From the mouth of a cave, figures begin to stir. Shadows move against shadows, their forms covered in skins stiff with frost, their breaths rising in clouds that dissolve into the morning air. They are not yet the masters of the earth, not rulers of this vast wilderness, but wanderers bound to it. Survival is their only crown, endurance their only wealth. Each morning is not promised, it is earned. The forest below answers the coming of dawn with its own voices. A raven croaks from a twisted branch, wings beating against the pale sky. Somewhere in the distance, the low rumble of a stream echoes among the rocks. The wind carries with it the scent of pine, damp soil, and the faint musk of animals already moving, unseen but near. Every sound, every smell is a message. To ignore it is to risk hunger, or worse, within the dim shelter of stone, a child shifts in sleep, curling closer to the warmth of the embers. The fire is faint now, a thin thread of smoke rising from blackened wood, yet it is the heart of their world. Without it, the night is endless. With it there is light, protection, and the fragile illusion of safety. One by one the tribe begins to wake, limbs stretch stiff from the hardness of the cave floor, joints cracking in protest. Eyes blink against the new day, adjusting to the pale glow that creeps closer with every passing breath. Hunger gnaws before words are spoken. The stomach reminds them of yesterday's meager catch, of roots chewed until bitter, of marrow cracked from bone. It is this hunger that drives them out into the wild, again and again. For the average caveman, life is not measured in years or seasons, but in moments of survival strung together like beads on a fragile thread. The morning is a question, and the answer must be hunted, gathered, endured. The rhythm of existence beats slowly, tied to the rising of the sun and the fall of the dark. Outside the cave, frost clings to the earth. Footprints press into the soil as the first hunters step into the dawn, spears in hand, eyes scanning the valley for signs. The women gather baskets of woven reeds, preparing to search for roots and berries, for anything that will quiet the ache inside. Children cling to mothers' legs, blinking wide-eyed at the breath of mist that curls across the land. The day has begun, and with it the endless cycle continues to rise, to seek, to endure. Survival is not heroic, it is ordinary, it is everything. ChatGPT+. The sun climbs slowly, brushing the valley in amber and gold. Mist unravels from the trees, lifting like ghosts that vanish into the pale sky. The world is awake now. Herds of red deer drift between the shadows of the forest, their ears twitching, every sense alert to the possibility of danger. Above them, on a distant ridge, wolves linger, silent and watchful, eyes glinting in the growing light. The tribe moves with caution. Every sound matters. The snap of a twig, the rustle of leaves, the sudden cry of a bird, each could mean prey, or predator, or nothing at all. The hunters crouch low, spears balanced in calloused hands, their breath slow, measured, shaped by generations of practice. There are no wasted movements here, no luxury of clumsiness. To stumble is to draw attention, to hesitate is to starve. Back near the cave, the gatherers step carefully into the undergrowth. They know the language of the earth, the bitter root hidden beneath the soil, the berries that stain fingers purple, the nuts pried open with sharp stones. They search for honey tucked inside hollow logs, for insects that squirm beneath bark, for mushrooms that may heal or kill. Knowledge is their weapon, as sharp as any spear, passed down in whispers from mother to daughter, elder to child. Children linger near the fire, feeding it with thin sticks gathered the night before. Sparks leap into the air, bright against the pale morning. The flames are weak, but they hold the memory of countless nights survived. Fire is the only barrier between flesh and the cold, between safety and the creeping jaws of the dark. Without it, even the strongest hunter is just another animal in the teeth of the wild. The morning stretches onward, and the hunger sharpens. Somewhere in the valley, a boar crashes through the undergrowth, scattering birds into the sky. The hunters freeze, eyes following the sound, hearts pounding. The spears are lifted, ready, but distance is their enemy. The animal is gone before the chase begins, vanishing into the forest with a strength and swiftness that mocks their weakness. For now, they must wait, watching, learning the rhythm of the land. Life for the average caveman is not a story of triumph but of patience. Days bleed into nights, nights into days, each marked by the same tasks, the same struggles, to find food, to keep fire, to protect the tribe. There is no certainty, no promise of tomorrow, and yet within that fragile existence, there is endurance, quiet, unyielding, older than the mountains themselves. The hunters read the ground like a book. A shallow crescent pressed into damp soil reveals the passage of a deer at first light. A chipped stone, half buried in silt, tells of an older camp where hands once worked and slept and moved on. They follow the faintest signs, a bent blade of grass still wet with dew, a tuft of coarse hair snagged on bramble, the sour sweet smell of recent dung. Their senses stretch outward until the forest seems to breathe with them, slow and steady, as if the land itself were a vast animal teaching them how to move across its skin. They are not alone out here. Ravens shadow the hunters, clever and unafraid, ready to descend on any scraps. Foxes weave invisible paths through fern and root, leaving only a whisper. Farther off, the wolves keep their silent vigil. Sometimes they trail the same herds, sometimes they trail the humans, curious, calculating, as old as fear. There is no hatred between species, only hunger, only the arithmetic of survival. At the cave, the world narrows to the small tasks that hold life together. Water must be fetched from the stream before the sun climbs too high and turns cold hands clumsy. The stream is shallow, its stones slick with algae, and the water purls over pebbles, clear enough to show a darting trout, gone in a flash. A woman kneels and cups her hands, tasting the metal tang of the earth, then fills a skin bladder, tying it off with sinew that smells faintly of smoke. Beside her, an elder lowers a bundle of thin saplings into the current to soak. Later they will bend more easily, ready to be shaped into frames for baskets or small snares. The elder's hands are a map of time, ridged, scarred, stained with ash. He moves without hurry, but nothing he does is wasted. A child watches him, silent, eyes bright, tracking each motion, as if it were a story told in gestures. The elder notices and smiles, the smallest tilt of his mouth. He takes a length of rawhide and twists it, showing how the fibers bind stronger when rolled against the thigh. The child mimics him, a clumsy echo at first, then truer, until the cord holds. Learning is not a lesson here, it is breath, it is the thread that binds morning to night. Inside the cave, the air keeps the memory of smoke and damp stone. The walls are dark with old soot, their surfaces pocked and ridged as if the mountain had once flowed like water, and then frozen in mid-current. Near the entrance, a shallow hearth holds the coals of last night's fire, arranged with care beneath a lattice of thin sticks. A woman lifts a glowing ember with a splinter of bark and feeds it a curl of dry grass. She breathes, long, patient breaths, and the flake of light swells into flame. The sound is small but profound, a soft rush like a secret being repeated, life coaxed from sleep. They carry their world with them in small things, a flake of flint shaped to a wicked edge, a hammerstone smooth from use, a polished shard of bone that makes holes in leather, a pouch of ochre powder the color of rusted sun. In the pouch, alongside the ochre, rest tiny treasures, a striped shell, a fragment of amber, a tooth pierced and strung on sinew. None of these feed the stomach or ward off teeth in the dark, and yet they matter. They remind the tribe that there is more to the world than ache and fear. They remind them that hands can make beauty even when the wind is cold and the meat is thin. By mid-morning, the hunters have climbed to the shoulder of a hill where the ground opens to a sweeping view of the valley. From here, the forest lies like a vast green animal breathing in slow heaves. They crouch among scrub and rock, the wind cool against their faces, carrying smells upward, damp leaf mold, the fatty musk of boar, the clean, wild scent of deer. They speak in glances and gestures. A hand lifts and falls weight, two fingers bend, circle, a chin tilts toward the ridge. Look there, they move. One hunter slides along the slope, easing around loose stones, weight always low, shoulders soft. Another follows parallel below, careful to keep downwind. The third stays higher, watching, ready to signal or to drive if the moment comes. Their spears are not decoration. The shafts are straightened with heat, rubbed with fat, weighted with patience. The points, knapped from stone, glint with a promise as ancient as the first fire. A soft clatter of stones, a body too heavy for silence has shifted in the brush below. They freeze, breath stops, the world narrows to a single rustle, a shadow moving between trunks. Then it emerges, a red deer stag, heavy-necked, a crown of antlers, lifted like the branches of a bare tree. Steam rises from its nostrils, it steps, pauses, steps again, ears swiveling. The hunters do not blink. Time thickens, viscous as resin. The deer's head lifts sharply. It has caught the faintest edge of human scent. Muscles ripple across its shoulders. It turns to bolt. A hand flashes upward now. The lower hunter breaks into sudden motion. Not a shout, not a charge, but a slicing of distance designed to startle, to drive the animal toward the slope where another waits. The stag leaps, explosive, clearing brush with a white-eyed panic. Stones cascade. The upper hunter moves to intersect its path, spear poised, but the angle is wrong, the footing treacherous. The point grazes flank, a flake of hair and a line of bright blood, and then the animal is gone, swallowed by trees. Silence returns, loud as thunder. The hunters stand still, listening to the echo of their failure. No curses, no rage, only breath, the licking of a thumb over a scraped knuckle, a small nod passed between them. Lessons learned. They track the blood a little way, thin, bright, not fatal, then let the trail go. The stag will live, so will they. They turn their attention instead to smaller signs, the burrow of a hare, the faint scuttle of partridge in long grass, the sudden glitter of a trout in a narrow pool. The world is not generous, but it is not cruel. It is indifferent. It sets its table with root and seed and flesh, and leaves the guests to find their own order. The gatherers, farther down, bend over a patch of low shrubs, their fingers deft. Some berries they pluck and slip into their mouths, testing sweetness, testing memory. This one safe, this one not. This one only after the first frost. They dig with pointed sticks for tubers hidden like treasure beneath the soil, snapping them free with the quiet satisfaction of certainty answered. A girl carries a basket too large for her small back, determined and solemn. Each time it slips, she pushes her shoulder harder beneath the strap, jaw set. When she grows, she will carry more than baskets. Near noon the sun sits pale behind a fine veil of cloud, and a breeze rolls down from the high passes, smelling of ice and stone. The tribe gathers at a clearing where the stream bends wide and shallow. They wash the grit from their hands, drink, and share what the morning has offered. A cluster of berries, a mound of roots scraped clean, 2 fish speared in a quiet pool, a clutch of eggs found in a grass nest. There is no feast, but there is food, and for a little while the gnawing inside them softens. An elder breaks a root into thin slices, lays them on a flat stone near the fire to dry a little before chewing. He speaks low, more to the flames than to the others, but they listen anyway. He talks of winters when snow lay thick, and the rivers remembered how to stop, of summers when the ground cracked and offered dust instead of grass, of a cave farther east where the walls shine like the backs of fish. His words are not a story, because the day is not done. They are a way to keep time from spilling away, to weave the present to the past so the future has somewhere to tie its knots. After eating, work returns like a tide. A woman scrapes a hide with a stone scraper that fits her hand perfectly because her hand made it so. Each pull lifts pale curls from the underside of the skin, releasing the smell of animal and smoke. She rubs the hide with fat to soften it, folding and unfolding it until it obeys. Another repairs a sling, testing the pocket with small stones, aiming at a round scar on the cave wall where countless throws have thudded and slid and fallen. A boy and a girl carry armfuls of dead food. From the forest edge, they stack the wood in careful layers near the hearth, thick logs to the rear, dry twigs at the front, bark in a bundle tied with twisted grass. The boy finds a branch shaped like a crooked spear, tests its weight, and grins. The girl watches, then lifts her own stick and mirrors his stance. They throw at the scar on the wall, laugh when they miss, try again. Their play is a rehearsal for all the tomorrows they will have to endure. As the day leans into afternoon, clouds thicken, The light dulls until the world seems made of graphite and ash. A wind rises, carrying a warning the tribe understands without words. They begin to draw closer to the cave, calling softly to one another, lifting baskets, securing tools. The hunters return with a brace of hares and a small bull piglet snared in brush. It is not triumph, it is relief written in shoulders that drop, in hands that loosen, in eyes that soften at the sight of meat. The first drops strike the stone outside the cave like quiet drum beats. Then the rain comes in earnest, a steady curtain stitching earth to sky. The forest darkens, edges melt, and the world pulls its hood low. Inside the cave, the fire deepens from orange to a steady living red. Meat hisses over the flames, fat pops. The smell is immediate and absolute, animal and smoke, and the sharp metal edge of hunger turning into patience. They share the food without ceremony. The choicest pieces go to the very young, the very old, the nursing mother whose quiet endurance is an anchor to the tribe. Fingers tear flesh, teeth work, eyes close in brief, grateful moments. No one speaks loudly. The rain is speech enough, patterning the entrance with silver threads, washing tracks from the earth, giving the valley a new skin. When the eating is done, the silence changes shape. It is no longer the hollow space of waiting, it is a roof. People settle into tasks that bind the afternoon to the night. A man trims a spear shaft with a flake of stone, shaving away millimeter after millimeter, until the wood sings under his touch. A woman grinds dried plants to powder between stones, stops to taste, adds a pinch of ash, grinds again. Later the paste will be smeared on a cut or brewed into something bitter that opens the breath. An elder takes out the pouch of ochre and mixes a little with water in a shallow depression of rock. With a fingertip he draws a line on the cave wall, a simple curve, then another, until a deer emerges where there was only darkness. A child watches the deer appear and reaches out, hesitant to touch the wet line. The elder catches the small hand gently, smiles, and guides it to a fresh patch of stone. Together they make another line, a clumsy echo that still holds the deer's grace. In this place, marks on stone are memory set where the rain cannot reach. They are proof that a day of hunger and fire and rain existed, that hands refused to be only tools for grasping and killing. Outside the rain slackens, then returns, then finally softens to a fine mist. The light beyond the entrance pales toward evening. Shadows in the cave shift like slow fish in deep water. Someone begins a low hum, almost beneath hearing, a note that threads the space between bodies and stone. Another voice joins it, then another, until the sound becomes a single tone carried by many throats. It is not a song with words, it is a wall against the dark. The hunters speak softly about the morning's deer, replaying the moment the angle was lost. The stone slid, the wind betrayed, not blame, only geometry, only the invisible lines that must be drawn correctly. If the spear is to find the place where bone yields, tomorrow they will try the ravine, where the ground funnels the herd. Tomorrow the wind may turn in their favor, or not, they will go anyway. The children grow drowsy near the coals, lids drooping, heads leaning against knees and shook. The fire's skin pulses gently, breathing its slow red breaths. The tribe adjusts itself by inches, a blanket of hide shifted to shield a sleeping child from the draft. A log nudged closer to the heat, a spear laid within reach of the cave mouth. All of it quiet, all of it practiced. The day which began in a whisper of grey over the ridge, settles toward night without drama. There is no grand victory to mark it, no catastrophe to etch it into legend. There is only the ordinary miracle of having gone out and returned, of having taken from the world and given back attention, effort, a mark on stone. Tomorrow will need the same. The valley will open its book again, and the tribe will read what it offers, letter by letter, track by track, breath by breath, until light runs out and they fold themselves into the curve of the cave. For now the rain hushes, the mist loosens and slides away, the fire sighs and hums, and in the long slow quiet that follows, the average caveman does what all living things do when the world allows it. He breathes, he listens, and he waits for the next heartbeat to arrive. The night yields slowly, its heavy silence peeling away as the first pale light spills once more into the valley. The storm has passed, but its memory lingers in the damp earth and the cool breath of the forest. Every branch glistens with drops that tremble and fall, feeding the soil, filling the air with a sweetness that clings to the tongue. The tribe wakes to this scent, to the soft hiss of water still dripping from stone, to the knowledge that another day has arrived, unpromised, but theirs. The hunters are already moving, their spears slung over shoulders, their eyes sharp from dreams cut short. Hunger does not wait for comfort. They slip into the trees while the mist still curls low to the ground, while the hoofprints of last night's deer remain dark in the mud. Each step is slow, deliberate. They pause often, crouching to press their hands to the earth, to taste the air with parted lips, to listen for the smallest fracture in the forest's song. The land speaks, but only to those who know how to hear. One of them finds a trail, a boar, heavy and restless, its passage marked by torn roots and damp soil churned by hooves. The scent is strong, the prints fresh. They follow, weaving between trunks, moving downwind, silent as shadows. Their hearts beat faster, not from fear but from the electric pull of possibility. To catch a boar is to feed many, to turn this morning into survival bought for several nights. At the cave, the gatherers set out with woven baskets slung against their hips. The women carry digging sticks smoothed by years of hands, their ends darkened from earth and yews. They spread into the undergrowth, searching for roots swollen with water from the storm, for mushrooms glistening under fallen logs, for tender shoots pushing through softened soil. They know each plant by face, each leaf by taste, each stem by smell. Mistakes are not forgiven. The forest holds both food and poison in the same shade of green. Children follow them, quick-footed and curious. A boy plucks berries, smears them across his lips, and spits at the bitterness. A girl points at a patch of mushrooms, her eyes bright, but the elder woman shakes her head sharply, pulling her away. Lessons are not spoken gently here. They are cut into memory with the edge of danger. A single mistake can end more than curiosity. By midday, the hunters find their prize. The boar stands in a clearing, its hide slick with rain, tusks gleaming like curved blades. It digs into the earth with powerful shoulders, tearing roots free, grunting low. The men spread, circling with care, each step a thread in a net they hope to tighten around the beast. One lifts his hand, signaling patience. Another nods, knuckles white around the shaft of his spear. The boar lifts its head suddenly, nostrils flaring, ears twitching. It has caught their scent. For a heartbeat, the clearing holds its breath. Then the animal charges, a bolt of muscle and fury, ripping through brush with impossible speed. The first spear flies, striking the flank but not deep enough. The second man steps into its path, thrusting downward as the beast crashes toward him. The point strikes true, driving into the chest, and the boar screams, a sound raw and violent enough to tear the silence apart. The struggle is quick but brutal. The beast thrashes, tusks cutting, hooves pounding, before it collapses under the weight of blood and effort. The hunters stand over it, heaving, their arms trembling from the force of survival made real. They know better than to shout in triumph. The forest does not celebrate, it watches, it remembers. They dress the animal where it fell, their flint knives working with practiced speed. The hide is peeled, the fat collected, the meat carved into slabs. Nothing is wasted. The organs are gathered in skins, the bones split for marrow, the blood soaked into moss to carry home. This is not cruelty but gratitude, a recognition that life feeds life, that survival is built on the back of sacrifice. When they return to the cave, the tribe gathers around them, eyes wide at the sight of meat. The children press forward, reaching but are pulled back gently. The women begin to prepare the flesh, cutting, skewering, arranging it over the fire. The smell rises quickly, thick and rich, curling into the stone walls, into every breath. Hunger sharpens into anticipation, into silence broken only by the hiss and pop of fat dripping onto flame. As they eat, the tribe grows quiet again. There is no chatter, no boasting, only the soft crackle of fire, the steady chewing, the sound of rainwater still dripping from the cave roof. They eat slowly, savoring, letting strength seep back into their limbs. For a brief moment, the ache in their bellies eases, and the shadows in their eyes lift. Later, when the meal is done, they sit in a circle, the firelight flickering across their faces. The elder takes a bone from the boar, polishes it with a stone, and begins to carve shallow lines into its surface. The children watch, their eyes fixed on the sparks that leap from each stroke. They do not yet know the meaning of the marks, only that they matter, that they are a way of keeping something from slipping into silence. Outside, the forest exhales, the mist thins, the wind shifts, and the valley stretches beneath the fading light. Another day has passed, not without danger, not without loss, but with survival held once more in their hands. And for the average caveman, that is everything. The afternoon settles heavy upon the valley, the sun dimmed behind veils of drifting cloud. The storm-washed air carries the cool scent of stone and pine, mixed with the sharp tang of smoke that drifts from the cave mouth. The tribe moves slower now, their hunger softened by meat, their bodies eased by warmth, but there is no idleness in their world. Survival leaves no room for stillness longer than a breath. Some prepare the hide of the boar, scraping the flesh from its underside with flakes of flint, stretching it across a frame of bent saplings. Others chip at stones, coaxing new blades and points from near claws. Each strike of stone on stone echoes like the heartbeat of the cave, sharp, ringing, precise. Children sit nearby, sorting through shards, testing edges against their thumbs, their eyes wide with the seriousness of the task. What looks like play is training. What looks like clumsiness is the first step towards skill. In the distance, the forest hums with life hidden in shadow. Birds settle in the canopy, their calls sharper now as the day leans toward its end. Insects drone low among damp leaves. Somewhere, a wolf cries long and hollow, answered faintly by another across the ridge. The tribe does not flinch at the sound. They know it well. The wolves are neighbors, rivals, sometimes shadows in their hunts. They are feared, respected, but not hated. Both species chase the same prey, follow the same herds, bleed under the same stars. As the sun lowers, the gatherers return with their baskets. Roots, berries, and wild greens are laid out on a flat stone, inspected, sorted, saved. A woman crushes herbs with the butt of a stone, mixing them into a paste that carries a bitter smell. She smears it across a cut on her arm where a thorn tore her skin earlier in the day. Another stirs the fire, adding thicker logs now to ensure it burns into the long night ahead. The flames leap higher, painting the walls in restless orange. At the entrance of the cave, two men work with sinew, binding new spearheads to shafts of straightened wood. They pull the bindings tight with their teeth, test the weight, and press the points into the soil. They do not speak much, but their silence is companionable, steady. Tools are lives preserved, and they treat them as such. The children chase one another in circles near the fire, wooden sticks in their hands pretending to be spears. They mimic the hunters, crouching low, springing forward, voices rising in laughter and shouts. An elder watches, lips pressed into a smile that softens the deep lines on his face. He lets them play, for play is the shape of learning. In their laughter is the echo of the future. As dusk approaches, the tribe gathers closer. The cave darkens with the retreat of the light outside, but inside the fire grows stronger, filling the space with warmth, with the smell of smoke, with the comfort of something familiar. Meat roasts again, smaller cuts from what remains of the boar, their fat dripping into the coals, sending sparks into the air. When the meal is eaten, the elder clears his throat, and silence falls. He begins to speak in low tones, his words simple but carried with weight. He tells of an ancient hunt, of a time when the ancestors faced a beast larger than any man, its horns curved like the moon. His hands move with the story, sketching shapes in the air, his voice rising and falling like the crack of fire. The children lean forward, eyes wide, mouths slightly open, caught between fear and wonder. The adults listen too, not for the first time, but because these stories are more than memory. They are warnings, lessons, maps carved in sound instead of stone. The fire crackles. Outside, the forest darkens into shadow, the line of the ridge dissolving into the night sky. Stars begin to prick through the fading veil, cold and distant, as they have always been. Within the cave, faces glow in the firelight, the tribe huddled close, their breathing soft and even. The night is near, and with it its dangers, but for this moment, wrapped in flame and story, the average caveman feels not only the weight of survival, but the fragile comfort of belonging. The last light of the sun slides behind the ridge, leaving the valley painted in indigo and grey. Shadows thicken until the forest becomes a single mass, breathing softly in the cool air. The cave glows like a lantern set into the stone, its firelight spilling across the ground in trembling patterns. The tribe draws closer, pulled inward by instinct, by memory, by the certainty that the night belongs to other eyes and other teeth. The fire grows steady, a heartbeat against the hush of the world. Sparks twist upward, vanishing into the smoke that clings to the cave roof. Around it, the people settle into positions, shaped by habit. The youngest press against their mothers, lids heavy with the weight of a long day. The elders sit nearer to the warmth, wrapped in skins, their faces flickering with every rise and fall of flame. The hunters remain closest to the entrance, spears within reach, watching the darkness as though it were alive. Outside, the forest sings its darker song. The hoot of an owl cuts through the stillness, answered by silence. Farther away, a wolf calls again, its voice stretched thin across the valley. The sound drifts into the cave, curling between the flames and the listeners. No one stirs. Fear is there, yes, but it is old, familiar, worn smooth by time. The wolves are not invincible, they are hungry, just as the humans are. The line between them is thin, always shifting. The elder speaks once more, his voice softer now, lower, almost a murmur meant for the fire itself. He tells of stars, of lights that have watched since before men had names, before fire was carried in their hands. He gestures upward, though the cave roof blocks the sky. His words fall like embers, one by one, and the children's eyes grow distant, half in waking, half in dream. A woman hums a low tune, a rhythm without words, and soon another joins her. The sound weaves through the cave like smoke, simple, repeating, until it becomes the pulse of the night. The fire listens, the darkness presses close, and in the quiet between heartbeats, the tribe lets its eyes fall shut, each one trusting the others to wake if danger comes. The night deepens, stars burn cold above the ridge, the forest whispers and waits. Inside the cave, the fire holds its ground, and the average caveman, wrapped in warmth and story, drifts into a sleep that is never certain, but always necessary. The last glow of the sun slips beneath the horizon, dissolving into a deep bruise of violet and indigo. The valley exhales, the warmth of day bleeding away as a cool breath rises from the earth. The forest, so restless with bird call and movement hours earlier, grows hushed, as if every branch and every leaf is listening for the things that awakened only when the light retreats. From the mouth of the cave, the world is a shifting blur of shadow, shapes that were clear in the daylight. Tree trunks, stone outcrops, the curve of the river, now blur into a single darkness. It is a darkness alive, filled with whispers, with glints of unseen eyes, with the endless watch of predators who have been waiting for this hour. The fire becomes the tribe's sun, its glow dances across the walls, etching trembling silhouettes into the stone. Sparks leap upward like tiny spirits, only to vanish before they touch the cave roof. The smoke clings, turning the air thick with the mingled scent of charred wood, roasted meat, and damp stone. Around it, the people gather as they always have, their bodies curved inward, drawn not only by heat, but by something older, the deep animal need for closeness in the face of the dark. The youngest lie against their mother's sides, eyes half-lidded, lulled by warmth and the murmur of voices. A child reaches toward the flames, fingers stretching for the shimmer, but is pulled back gently. The lesson unspoken: fire gives, but it also punishes. The elders, wrapped in skins, lean close to the blaze, their faces carved with shadow, their eyes reflecting the flames like dark pools. The hunters sit near the entrance, spears within reach, their bodies angled outward, watching the night with the quiet vigilance of those who know danger never sleeps. Beyond the firelight, the forest begins its nocturnal chorus. An owl hoots, low and steady, a hollow echo that drifts across the valley. Insects buzz in shifting waves, a ceaseless hum that trembles in the air. From far away comes the long, mournful cry of a wolf. It rises and falls, drawn thin across the hills, answered faintly by another call deeper in the distance. The sound slips into the cave, curling like smoke between those gathered around the fire. No one startles. Fear is there, yes, but it is an old weathered fear, worn smooth by generations. The wolves are not new, they have always been, shadowing the lives of humans, chasing the same prey, surviving by the same hungers. The elder clears his throat, a rasp softened by age, and the murmurs fall into silence. His voice is low, almost a whisper, but it carries. He speaks of the stars, though the roof of the cave hides them. He tells of lights that have burned above, since before men carried fire, since before men had words. His hand lifts, drawing invisible constellations against the smoke. The children's eyes follow his fingers, as if they could pierce stone and see the patterns above. The adults listen too, not because they have not heard the story before, but because hearing it again ties this night to every night before it. The story drifts into an. He speaks of beasts of Aruks with horns that could pierce a man from belly to back, of bears whose roars shook the bones of the mountains. He speaks of hunts both won and lost, of men who did not return, of the thin line between life and death that runs through every dawn, every dusk. His words are not decoration, they are warnings wrapped in memory. The firelight flickers over his features, deepening the lines, making his face seem carved from the same stone that shelters them. A woman begins to hum, low and steady. The sound is almost beneath hearing, a vibration more than a melody. Another voice joins hers, then another, until a single note threads through the cave, woven from many throats. It is not a song with words, but it is a shield. The rhythm rocks the children towards sleep. Even the hunters, still watchful, breathe in time with it, letting the sound seep into their bones. Outside, the wolves cry again, close and the forest listens. The tribe does not answer with weapons or fear. They answer with fire, with voice, with the quiet, stubborn unity that has carried them through countless nights like this one. The flames flare as a log collapses inward, sending sparks upward in a brief storm of light. Faces glow, then fade, glow, then fade again. Sleep creeps slowly, cautiously, one by one, heads lower onto folded arms, onto shoulders, onto stone smoothed by years of rubber. The hunters remain half awake, their eyes glinting in the firelight, but even they drift in and about, their bodies trained to wake at the smallest sound, at the shift of air, at the crack of a twig outside. The cave breathes with them, the fire sighs, the night presses close, and in this fragile circle of warmth and light, the average caveman surrenders to sleep, not the peaceful, unbroken sleep of safety, but the shallow, restless sleep of survival, where every dream is threaded with the sounds of wind, of wolves of fire that must be kept alert till morning. Morning returns with a clear, hard light that sharpens every edge of the world. Dew beads the grasses until the hills seem glazed, and the wind carries the thin sweetness of crushed leaves underfoot. The tribe moves early, before heat, before flies, before the shadows of the trees shorten and secrets become harder to read. Fire is stirred, embers rebreathed into a living flame, and thin smoke threads upward in a silver line that unravels against the pale sky. Meat from yesterday's kill is packed in skins, stiff with fat that will soften against the body's warmth as the day wears on. There is no ceremony to the preparations, only repetition given grace by necessity. They choose their tools with quiet care, a napped point tested with a thumbnail, its edge whispering against keratin, a haft bound with sinew that tightens as it dries, a sling whose braided cords have been replaced where age began to fray them, a throwing stick polished by countless grips curved to catch air and spin straight. The hunters pass the tools between them, not as a show of ownership, but as the movement of responsibility. A spear that suits one hand may settle more truly in another. Geometry and trust decide the matter, and nothing more. They climb the slope in a staggered line, keeping to brush, pausing often. The ground is a ledger of the morning, a fox's delicate print stitched atop the larger stamp of a red deer hind, the drag of a hare's feet ending in a sudden, telling scuff where it vanished into cover, a patch of soil torn by a boar's rooting that smells of sweet earth and sharp plant rip. They read the signs without haste. Each mark is not just direction but time. How long since, how far ahead, how likely the trail is to dissolve in heat and wind before they close the distance. A hand hovers above a track, feeling the coolness of compressed mud. A nod passes between them. The deer are not far, below at the river bend where the stones glow pale as bone beneath clear water. The gatherers fan out into a slow-moving crescent. Digging sticks sink into loosened soil and come up fragrant with tubers that smell faintly of rain. Fingers pry bark from fallen trunks, revealing the shiver of beetles. The wriggling harvest is pinched clean, gathered into a woven pouch. Leaves are rubbed and sniffed, tongues touched to bitter edges and spat clean with practiced disdain when caution whispers no. A grandmother presses a sprig against her wrist, waits for the skin to prickle. It does not. She nods and slips the plant into the basket. A girl watches every motion, the way the older woman never trusts a single sense, how she smells and touches and tastes in a dance that keeps poison at the edge of the circle. They do not hoard knowledge, they scatter it like seed. As they work, they name what they know, not with strings of sounds as long as stories, but with gestures and brief syllables that carry shape and warning. This root swells in the wet moons. This berry sweetens after frost. This mushroom feeds a fever's fire that one feeds the grave. The children repeat the motions until muscle remembers. Memory here is not a thought. It is fingers finding the right pressure on a stem until it yields without tearing. On the ridge, the hunters fan toward a ravine cut into the hillside like an old wound. They have chosen this place because the land narrows into a throat and herds must pass in single or double file when shifting from feeding ground to water. The wind for once moves their way, sliding from deer toward human. It carries the musky, warm smell of bodies, the faint dust of disturbance, the green edge of bruised plants. They crouch behind scrub that scratches their shins, and patience settles over them like a second skin. A pair of hinds appear first, their ears swiveling independently, legs like coiled springs. Behind them, two yearlings crowd too close, jostling, learning the etiquette of caution. Farther back, a stag moves with the ineffable, unhurried authority of something that needs to prove nothing until it must. The line snakes toward the choke point. The human eyes above the scrub never blink. They do not charge. That is not the arithmetic of this place. Instead, a stone lifts and arcs, not hard, not straight, but to skitter ahead of the lead hind with a dry clatter like a footfall where there should be none. Heads lift, the line compresses, another stone plinks against a trunk on the opposite flank. Ambiguity thickens like fog. The deer hurry, choosing the ground the humans prefer. When the hind commits to the ravine, the world narrows to a sequence of rehearsed angles. A hunter within the channel stays low, letting the animals pour above him on the shelf path, spear held back to avoid flash. Another rises at the lip, a brief, startling shape, not to strike but to bend the flow tighter. The second yearling missteps in panic, sliding on loose scree. Its leg strikes stone. The moment appears, sharp as flint. A spear flies. It does not kill cleanly. Few things do. It wounds deep. The animal thrashes, eyes wide with the astonishment of pain. A second spear ends the astonishment. Silence pours back into the ravine, as if someone stopped a drum with a single hand. There is no whoop, no raised weapon. The men breathe, each breath counted. They listen for the echo of their act. Did the herd scatter cleanly? Did the stag circle to challenge? The ridge resumes its sound. Insects. A crow's comment. They move then, swift and practiced, to finish the work. The spear began. Throat opened, blood caught in moss, hide freed with cuts so small they seem like caresses, sinew pulled long and looped to dry, fat scraped into a pouch where it will be melted later and brushed onto spear shafts, onto bough trees, onto skin that cracks when the wind begins to bite. The line between reverence and realism is not spoken aloud. It is the steady hand, the lack of waste, the way a palm rests for a heartbeat on the cooling flank in recognition of a debt that cannot be repaid, only carried. While they work, the gatherers discover a hive in a hollow snag beneath the cliff shelf. The scent is unmistakable, sweet and animal, braided with the faint fury of thousands. Smoke is coaxed from damp moss and a twist of punky wood, a smolder more than a flame. A woman wafts it with a fern, careful, apologetic. The bees lift in a dark cloud and settle a few arm lengths away, confused, buzzing like a thought you cannot quite catch. Honeycombs, golden and heavy, come free with sticky reluctance. Hands shine, tongues taste, laughter, brief and private, crosses faces that seldom waste pleasure on nothing. Wax is saved, it will seal, it will make light later when days clutch the sun too quickly by the neck and drag it away. By noon the sky turns thin and bright, the kind of light that bleaches depth out of distances. Heat lifts small scents into the air and smears them flat, Tracks blur as soil dries. The tribe regroups near the river bend where a stand of willows combs the wind into a soft silk rustle. They eat little now, sweet knobs of tuber, roasted in last night's coals and carried wrapped in leaves. A sliver of raw liver from the yearling that goes to the elder who asked for it, whose body craves what it knows without words. Children suck honey from their fingers with reverence. The quiet that comes after eating is not lethargy, it is recalculation. The day has given, so it may still take. They apportion tasks with gestures and a few clipped sounds. Two will carry meat to the cave and begin the long business of drying what cannot be eaten tonight. Two will sweep the ridge trails, reading the absence of sign as carefully as presence. Three will circle the bog flats. Birds feed there at this hour, and stones thrown true at 30 paces can add feathers and fat to the day's arithmetic. The flats breathe underfoot, small islands of firmer ground moving almost imperceptibly. Reed warblers flicker just above the tassels, their bodies barely more than a spine and two wings that flash and vanish. A boy kneels, fingers parting the rushes, eyes intent. He has learned to throw not with his arm but with his body, turning through the waste, letting the sling hum a single quiet circle before releasing. The stone leaps, skips once and catches a coot unaware with a dull, startling thud. The bird collapses into its own reflection. Joy flares in the boy's face and is quickly folded away beneath the same careful calm he has seen in the hunters. Triumph is loud and calls to teeth. Satisfaction is quiet and feeds the fire. Back at the cave, smoke has been thickened into purpose. Meat is cut into long, even strips and draped over a rack of green wood that will not catch. They have learned which woods flavor smoke kindly and which taste of bitterness and tar. The strips darken slowly as a soft thread of heat passes over them. Flies land and flee, repelled by the curl of smolder from dung and herb that keeps the air moving. Children fan faces set with the importance of work, arms burning as minutes stack into hours. Napping continues in the shade. A core of stone sits like a slumbering animal on a lap, and a hammer of antler taps and kisses and bites until a flake releases with a sound almost too soft to hear. Edges are born that could split a hair, that could tell bone it is time to open. The napper's face is all attention, the world drawn into the half-moon of his hands. A mistake will frost the stone with step fractures and ruin the line. He breathes, alters the angle by a breath, and the next flake opens cleanly, a bright sharp leaf fallen from a tree made of time. The afternoon ripens into a slow gold. Heat drives sense into the cave, making hunger wake again although the day has already fed them. The yearling's bones have been cracked and boiled. A greasy, thin broth thickens as collagen loosens and gives itself to water. A woman dips a finger, tastes, nods and adds crushed greens with a pinch of salt harvested weeks ago from a far-dried pool. The taste moves from bland necessity towards something that could almost be called kindness. There is danger, always. A shout, short, controlled, ripples inward from the mouth of the valley. Two figures are returning faster than ease allows, not running but near it. They carry no meat beyond what has been slung at the hip. Behind them, not yet visible, the idea of a shape moves, a bear perhaps drawn by scent or a human not of their circle. Spears rise without panic. Children are ushered backward without fuss. The fire is fed a thick log that will flare into a signal if needed. The two arrive, breathing hard, eyes cool. A bear indeed, thin after a bad foraging season, nose to ground, sneer of hunger lifting its lips. It veered when they made themselves tall and many, but it did not run. It will remember, so will the tribe. For days they will loop wide around the berry flats. For nights they will stack stones at the cave mouth and lay thorn branches as teeth where only shadows can step. The sun tilts, birds fly lower, air chills as if someone pulled a curtain across the sky far to the west. Work that can be left is left. Meat is moved farther from flame so it will dry and not cook. Tools are set in their places with the tenderness one gives a sleeping child. Hands are washed in the river where minnows worry calluses that will not yield. Honey wax is warmed and rubbed into a sling's knots to stiffen them just so. A woman smears fat onto a boy's cracking knuckles and then onto her own without comment. On a flat patch of earth, the elder draws with a charred stick. Lines cross and bend the ridge with its hidden shelf. The ravine's mouth, the current path of deer since the storm shifted the grass, the bog flats and the firm islands within them, the hive snag below the shale. The children lean in. The drawing is not to be kept. It will blur under feet and wind, but while it is there it ties memory to ground, turns what the body knows into a map the eyes can carry into tomorrow. The elder taps the place where the bear was seen, then circles to show how wide to walk. No speech is needed. The marks are enough. Evening takes the color from the hills. The river turns to metal, and the first bat lifts from its sleeping fold to cut erratic arcs against the dim. The tribe eats the thin broth and gnaws the last warm scraps off the yearling's ribs, tongues teasing slivers from between the bones. The taste is not abundance, it is continuity. It promises that morning will find them with strength enough to do again the work that has no ending. As darkness lowers, a wind presses from the north, smelling of stone and dry grass. Someone adds a fresh brace to the rack. Someone else smooths a hide stretched under tension, fingers reading imperfections like braille. There is satisfaction hidden in this living, small and plain, shining in the way the task ends where it should, in the way a knot hole, in the way a stone breaks along the line that was imagined for it. The day has been a hunt and a gather, and the words are not opposites. They are one gesture performed with different tools. Reach, read, take gently or strike cleanly. Give back what cannot be carried. Night will come with its teeth and its songs. The wolves will speak, the fire will answer. But for a few long breaths between light and dark, the valley seems to hold them without malice, as if even the indifferent world can, in brief moments, cradle the creatures that move across its skin, asking nothing but a place to stand, a mouth full of sweetness, a road through the grass that will still be there tomorrow. The light of day drains slowly from the valley, as if the sky itself is reluctant to surrender what remains of its goal. The river catches the last pale shimmer and carries it downstream in a broken ribbon, flickering between rocks before fading into shadow. The tribe feels the shift as much as they see it. Voices lower, movements slow. Each task becomes sharper, quicker, because all know that night does not forgive unfinished work. The strips of venison hang in rows, their surfaces darkening under the gentle smoke. Children, eyes stinging, keep fanning with green branches, the overturning the arms over, but they persist. To stop is to invite focus, to rescue. The smell of meat is thick and cave, an echo for empty stomachs that still ache despite the day's catch, for hunger is never truly gone. It only sleeps a little, waiting for the next mistake. At the mouth of the cave, two hunters wedge thorn branches into a barrier of stacked stones. The opening is still wide enough to pass, but narrow enough, less inviting to shapes that move in the dark. They do not speak as they walk. They know what hunts at night. Bears that smell fat and bedroom milk. Wolves will to test the edge of fire, even when not of their circle. The stones are a message, the thorns are teeth. They say inside the rib's life, but it will not be taken. The elder kneels near the fire, and as the sparks leap upward, painting the walls in a storm of brief constellations. He watches them fade, and then, with a small sigh, begins to hum. It is not a song, but a note, long, low, steady. A woman joins him, then another. The sound grows into a single line, carried by many throats, filling the cave with vibration. The children lean against their mothers, eyelids heavy, lulled by the sound. The hunters sit with their spears across their knees, their eyes still turned outward, but the breathing falls in rhythm with them. Outside, the forest answers with its own chorus. The elders call, soft and haunting. The elders call, soft and haunting. The insects sing lies that we absorb. Assault, but a constant trembling of air, and then far off but unmistakable, the howl of wolves, one voice, the night's geometry begins to shape itself. The humans do not answer, not with sound. Their fire and their song are reply enough. The elder's voice breaks the hum. He speaks not, his words slow and deep, carrying the weight of years. He tells of a time when a great beast, taller than 10 men, walked the plains to the west. Its tusks were longer than spears, its hide thicker than stone, and yet it fell, brought down not by a single. The lesson is not glory, the lesson is survival.
children's eyes widen at the image. The hunters nod silently, for they know the truth of it. The fire crackles louder as fat drips from the wreck, hissing against the cold. Shadows flicker across the Shadows flicker across the The people watch without fear. The cave is them. Its walls have seen generations sit just as they sit, feeding, fleeing, listening, enduring. The shadows remind them of the bond between stone and flesh, between past and present. Sleep comes slowly, reluctantly, as it always does. The children curl close, hands clutching hearts, their breathing softening into the rhythm of The men remain upright longer, eyes searching the dark beyond in a cave mouth, but even they drift at last, half dreaming, one ear outside the wall, circle the valley, unseen. The wind carries their voices, weaving them through the trees across the river, into the cave. The fire burns, steady, answering with its own song of crackle and sound, and within its glow, the average caveman closes his eye.
The cave breathes with them. Its walls, damp and dark, hold the weight of ages. But tonight, they are warm with the pulse of fire and the quiet press of human bodies. Shelter is not comfort. It is survival given shape. Stone keeps the wind from slicing their flesh, keeps the rain from soaking their skins, keeps the night from swallowing them whole. Yet stone is also cold, unforgiving, and it demands fire to soften its heart. The fire sits at the center, low but steady, a pool of orange light licking at the blackened rock above. Its smoke rises and clings to the ceiling before slinking toward the mouth of the cave, a thin, constant thread that carries their presence into the valley. The people arrange themselves by habit, an order that is older than memory. The children press against their mothers, their small bodies wrapped in hides still stiff with age and blood. The mothers keep to the middle, where warmth is thickest, where danger cannot reach without passing through other flesh first. The elders lean close to the flames, their bones grateful for heat, their voices quiet but steady, holding the stories that keep the tribe whole. The hunters stay near the mouth, their silhouettes cut against the firelight, their spears across their knees, their eyes drawn always outward. The cave is not silent. Water drips in a distant hollow, each drop echoing like a heartbeat in the stone. The fire hisses and pops, sparks leaping upward in brief storms of light. Outside, the wind slides across the entrance with a voice that rises and falls, carrying the sense of pine, damp earth, and the musk of unseen animals. Sometimes the wolves answer, sometimes an owl. Each sound presses into the walls, a reminder that the night beyond still watches. Here, within the stone, life unfolds in small acts. A woman scrapes the hide of the yearling taken that morning, the flint in her hand biting into flesh, pulling curls of pale fiber away. She rubs fat into the skin, folding and refolding it, softening it for use as clothing or bedding. Beside her, a boy grinds ochre into powder, his fingers stained red, his eyes wide as he mixes it with water and smears it against the rock. The mark he leaves is crude, a line that falters, but it holds. It says we were here. It says this is ours. An elder sits with two children, showing them how to twist sinew into cord. His hands are maps of scars, but they move with patience, turning raw strands into something strong enough to bind spearheads, to tie hides, to carry loads. The children fumble, their cords uneven, snapping too easily. He chuckles softly, then guides their fingers, reminding them that strength is not in force but in rhythm, in the way strands bend together rather than against one another. They will learn, they must. The hunters sharpen tools. Stone chips scatter on the floor, catching the firelight as they fall. Each flake is sharp enough to open skin with the lightest touch. The men test edges with thumbs, with hair, with the soft bark of branches. They work without speaking, the rhythm of strike and break filling the cave like its own language. Around them, the women hum low, soothing children towards sleep, weaving sound with fire into a net that holds fear at bay. Outside, the valley shifts under the weight of the night. The wolves grow bolder, their howls closer, their voices tangled with hunger. A bear stirs in the distance, heavy footsteps carrying through the stillness. The hunters hear it all, though they do not move. Their spears are ready, their fire is strong. The cave is teeth and stone and smoke, and within it the tribe waits, breathing together, hearts bound by the fragile strength of survival. Tomorrow will demand the same, hunting, gathering, enduring, but for now the cave is enough. It is a pause in the endless struggle, a fragile circle of light in a world of shadow. Here, pressed between fire and stone, the average caveman rests, not safe, never safe, but alive, and for this night, that is everything. The fire holds steady, its glow deepening as the hours stretch. Shadows crawl along the walls, swelling and shrinking, turning stone into a living canvas. Faces flicker in the glow, softened, blurred, as if they too belong to the cave. Here, in this shelter, the tribe becomes part of the mountain itself, a heartbeat inside stone, fragile but enduring. The cave is divided not by walls but by memory. Each place carries its own weight. Near the mouth, the hunters linger, always watchful, their silhouettes cut sharp against the fading light. They lean against stone, spears balanced across their laps, their gazes fixed on the dark beyond. They speak little, only in murmurs, in gestures. Words are precious, saved for lessons, for warnings, for stories. Silence itself is language, honed by generations that learned noise invites teeth. Deeper inside, the mothers keep the youngest close. Infants whimper softly, and the sound is quickly soothed with a hand, with a hum, with the press of warm skin. The children older than infancy, restless but already shaped by the weight of survival, practice with sticks, turning them into small spears, stabbing the earth with quick, sharp motions. Their laughter is brief, quickly hushed, but it exists, proof that even in a life carved by hunger and fear, the instinct to play refuses to vanish. An elder sits near the fire, his bones brittle, his movements slow, but his voice strong when it needs to be. He rubs a piece of bone against stone, carving shallow grooves into its surface. The children watch, fascinated, though they do not yet understand. The grooves will be remembered, perhaps as tally marks of days, or hunts or lives lived. The elder does not explain, he simply works, passing on knowledge without words the way time itself passes, quietly, relentlessly. The cave is not safe, not truly, drips echo from the back, each one a reminder that water seeps and wears even the hardest stone. Sometimes the walls groan with the shifting of the earth, sometimes the night carries sounds too close, pads on stone, claws scraping, the long exhale of something breathing outside. Yet compared to the valley, to the forest, to the unshielded plains, the cave is sanctuary. Fire makes it more. Without fire, the cave is only a tomb. With fire it is life. Its warmth pushes back the damp. Its smoke drives insects away. Its light makes shadows retreat. Fire is the tribe's second heartbeat, and all who sit near it know that tending it is as important as any hunt. A woman rises, stirring the embers with a stick, feeding them with dry twigs gathered at dawn. Sparks leap upward, scattering against the dark roof before winking out. She hums softly, her voice almost lost in the crackle, but the rhythm is steady. A child leans against her side, listening, the sounds sinking into bones and memory. These hums, these sounds without words are the first music, the first thread of what will one day become song. Deeper in the cave, further from the fire, tools rest in small piles, stone blades, bone awls, baskets of reeds, bundles of sinew. Each is precious, fragile, the difference between hunger and survival. They are not possessions, but the tribe's shared blood, worked by many hands, carried by many backs. The hunters sharpen points, their movements sure, practiced. Each flake struck from stone is a risk. Strike wrong and the tool is ruined. Strike right and a new edge is born, sharp enough to part hide, to cut meat, to defend life. The floor around them is littered with chips that glitter faintly in the firelight. Fragments of work, fragments of time. Outside the night grows thick. The wolves circle closer, their calls no longer faint but sharp, piercing, echoing across the valley. The tribe listens without panic, their ears tuned to every rise and fall of sound. They know the distance, the direction, the hunger in the wolves' voices. They also know that fire is their answer. The hunters do not rise, do not reach for spears, not yet. They wait. They trust the cave, the fire, the order they have carved into this fragile space. The elder clears his throat. The hum fades. All eyes turn to him. His voice, though raspy, carries through the cave. He tells of winters so deep that rivers froze solid, of nights when the stars seemed to fall closer, burning brighter, as if they too were fire watching from above. He speaks of those who came before, who sat where they sit now, who kept the fire alive when storms howled through the valley. His words are not only memory but instruction. Endurance is the path, patience, the weapon. The children lean forward, their faces lit in gold and shadow. They will remember his words, though not as sentences. They will remember them as feelings, fear and hope, hunger and strength, woven into their bones by the fire, by the night, by the rhythm of survival. The fire hisses as fat drips from the meat, strips above. The smell is heavy, filling the cave, pressing against their hunger. They eat in silence, tearing small pieces, sharing carefully, ensuring even the smallest mouths receive something. The taste is not abundance, but it is life, and it ties them to tomorrow. Sleep will come, but not yet. The hunters keep watch. The mothers hum, the children press close. The elders' words settle like ash. The cave, ancient and indifferent, holds them within its ribs, sheltering their fragile fire against the endless dark outside. The storm comes without warning. At first it is only a shift in the wind, a restless current that snakes through the valley and bends the trees with a new urgency. Then the air thickens, heavy with the metallic taste of rain not yet fallen, and the forest holds its breath. The tribe feels it. The hunters glance at the sky, at the low swell of clouds gathering like bruises over the ridge. The mothers pull the children closer, their voices dropping, their movements quicker, sharper. When the rain finally falls, it comes in sheets. The sound is immense, drumming against the earth, rattling the leaves until the entire forest seems alive with motion. The cave mouth darkens, a curtain of water cascading over stone, blurring the world beyond. The tribe gathers inward, drawing tighter around the fire. The flames hiss, shrinking into the weight of damp air, but hands move quickly, feeding the coal with the driest sticks, shielding them with hides, coaxing the fire back from the edge of death. Water seeps into the floor, gathering in shallow pools. The smell of wet earth fills the cave, mingling with the smoke, thick and heavy. The children shiver, their skins no match for the chill that creeps in with the rain. Mothers wrap them in hides, pressing them close, lending them warmth from their own bodies. The hunters stand at the entrance, their silhouettes black against the flashing storm. Lightning rips across the sky, painting the valley white for a heartbeat, followed by thunder that shakes the mountain itself. The storm is not just rain and wind, it is a predator of its own, one that cannot be fought with spears or stones. It floods rivers, tears trees from the roots, drives animals from their shelters. It tests fire, tests patience, tests the fragile walls of survival. The tribe does not curse it, does not name it enemy. They endure it, as they endure hunger and cold. And the wolves, endurance is the only answer the world understands. When the storm passes, it leaves silence so deep, it feels like the earth itself is listening. The fire crackles louder now, grateful for air and choked by water. Smoke drifts upward, curling into the night. Outside, the forest glistens, every leaf heavy with droplets, every stone slick and shining. The river swells, roaring louder, its banks eaten away by the flood. The hunters step out first, spears in hand, eyes scanning the storm-wrecked valley. The ground is torn, trails washed away, scents drowned beneath the sharp tang of rain. But they look anyway, reading the new language of the earth. The storm has hidden some signs, erased others, but it has also revealed tracks pressed deeper in softened mud, branches broken by the weight of fleeing animals, feathers plastered against stone. The hunters kneel, touch, smell, listen. The storm has not only taken, it has given. Inside, the tribe begins the slow work of repair. Hides must be dried again, baskets patched where the rushes split, stone tools checked for cracks. The elder directs with small gestures, his voice low but steady. He has seen storms like this before, storms that swallowed entire camps, that swept children away in swollen rivers. He knows what must be done, what must be guarded. His memory is not just his own, it is the tribe's, stored in him like fire and coal, passed down in stories and warnings. As the night deepens,
The wolves return, their voices rise sharper now, hungry, for the storm has scattered herds, left the weak behind. The tribe listens, measuring the distance, the hunger and the hope. The fire is fed higher, its light a shield, its smoke a warning. The hunters sit straighter, their eyes gleaming in the glow, their hands tightening around spears. The children press closer to them, their small hearts quick, their breaths shallow. They do not cry, they have already learned silence. The first snow arrives like ash falling from the grey sky. At dawn the hunters step from the cave and find the earth blanketed in white, the world hushed under its weight. Trees bow beneath it, branches heavy, their outlines softened into ghostly shapes. The river moves sluggishly, its edges locked in ice, its center a black vein still flowing against the cold. Breath plumes from every mouth, thick and heavy, lingering in the still. Before dissolving, snow changes everything. It buries trails, silences the ground, hides food beneath a croup. It makes every step heavier, every sound louder. The hunters know this. They wrap their feet in hides, tying them tight with sinew to keep the chill from gnawing through flesh. Their spears are heavy and not with stone, but with the weight of necessity. To return empty-handed in summer is hunger. To return empty-handed in winter is death. The tribe draws closer within the cave. The fire must never die, not for an instant, for the cold creeps faster than sleep. Children huddle near the center, pressed together under the thickest hides, their eyes wide and restless. Mothers feed them broth made from bones long since stripped of meat, boiling them again and again and again to draw the last breath of nourishment. The taste is thin, bitter, but it warms, and that is enough. The hunters move farther each day, tracking prints pressed deep in snow, following herds that shift restlessly in search of grasses still hidden beneath frost. Deer, once swift and elusive, move slower now, their bodies leaner, ribs showing beneath winter coats. Wolves shadow them as they shadow the humans, each waiting for the other to stumble. The hunters read the story written in snow, the stagger of a weak leg, the stumble of a foot, the drag of an injured stag. Opportunity is thin, but it is there. Inside the cave, work never stops. Hands weave rushes into mend baskets split by the cold, grind roots saved from children are taught patience, the art of waiting, the skill of stillness. They sit with listening to the slow, steady voice that speaks of winters past, of times when the snow was deep, when prey vanished entirely, when the fire burned so low it seemed the night itself would smother it. Yet always the story ends the same. We endured. The cave darkens earlier now, not pressing its weight before the sun has fully lifted. The fire becomes the only sun they know, its glow painting the walls with restless shadows. The smoke clings thicker, turning us red, but no one complains. The smoke keeps the cave warm, keeps spirits high, keeps the wolves at bay. Outside their houses dispose, but they do not enter. Fire is the line they will not cross. One night the storm comes, snow lashes sideway, driven by a wind that screams down from the mountains, rattling the thorn barrier, hissing through cracks in the stone. The fire gutters, but hands move quickly, feeding it with the driest wood, shielding it with honey. The children cry, but the voices are muffled against mothers' chests. The hunters grip spears, though no predator dares the storm. The enemy tonight is not fang or claw, it is cold itself, merciless, invisible, patient. They survive by closeness, bodies pressed together, warmth shared, the rhythm of many breaths weaving into one. The elder hums, his voice trembling but steady, and others join, their low tones racking around the fire like another layer of hide. The storm howls, the fire answers. Between the two, the tribe holds. When the storm passes, the world is transformed. Snow lies deep, smooth and unbroken, glistening beneath a brittle sun. Trees snap beneath the weight, leaving scars of splintered wood. The river is silent, frozen hard, its voice trapped beneath us. The hunters step out, the feet sinking, the lungs burning with each breath of frozen air. Hunger drives them far, to places where the snow is broken by movement, where life still fights to endure. Days blur into nights, nights into days. The cave becomes more than shelter, it becomes the world. Its walls hold not just bodies but memory, of storms weathered, of hunts returned, of stories spoken into the dark. The fire never dies. Even when it shrinks to glowing coal, someone is there, feeding it, coaxing it back. Fire is more than warmth. It is survival given form, the heartbeat of the tribe, the one light that pushes back the endless night. And through it all, the average caveman endures, not in triumph, not in east, but in the slow, steady rhythm of survival, step by step, breath by breath, fire by fire. The cave is tense, the air thick with the smell of smoke, damp stone fear, yet within it, there is also unity. Every hand, every voice, every breath is part of the same rhythm, the rhythm of survival. The wolves may prowl, the storm may rage, the mountain may shift, but inside the cave the tribe holds together. Fire at their center, stone at their back. Tomorrow, they will step out again, into a world changed by water and wind. They will find new trails, chase new prey, gather what the storm has left behind. But tonight, they endure. Tonight, the cave is enough.
The sun sinks slowly, bleeding its last gold across the valley before slipping behind the ridge. The forest exhales, shadows thickening, sounds changing. What was once the chatter of birds and the rustle of foraging animals becomes silence, broken only by the first cautious cries of night hunters. The tribe knows this rhythm. Day gives them sight, night demands fire. The fire is coaxed higher now, logs arranged in a careful lattice, sparks leaping upward into the dim roof of the cave. Its glow spills across the walls, painting them in trembling orange. The people gather closer, forming a circle around its warmth. The youngest curl against their mothers, their small faces lit in gold and shadow. The hunters sit with their spears across their knees, eyes never leaving the dark beyond the entrance. The elders lean near the flames, their skin marked by lines that flicker with every flare of light. Outside, the wolves begin. One voice at first, long and thin, stretched across the valley, like a blade of sound. Another joins, then another, until the night vibrates with hunger. The tribe listens, their faces still, their bodies leaning closer to the fire. They do not speak, they do not answer. The flames are their reply. Fire is the only language the night understands. When the howls fade, the elder clears his throat. Silence falls, his voice, low and rough, carries across the cave. He tells of ancestors long gone, of a hunt in a time before memory, when men and women brought down beasts so large their shadows blotted out the sun. His hands move with the story, shaping antlers in the air, tracing the fall of spears. The children stare, wide-eyed, caught between awe and fear. The adults listen too, though they have heard the story many times. It is not the tale itself that matters, but the act of telling, memory woven into sound, binding them together against the dark. The fire crackles, shadows twist across the walls, becoming shapes, the stretch of wings, the curve of horns, the snarl of predators, imagined into smoke. The tribe does not fear them. They are reminders, warnings, echoes of the world outside. The children point, whispering, and the mothers hush them softly, but smiles linger on their lips. After the story, a woman begins to hum. The sound is low, steady, almost beneath hearing. Another joins her, then another, until the cave vibrates with a single note carried by many throats. The hum is not song, not yet, but it holds them together. It calms the children, soothes the restless hunters, binds the tribe into one body breathing in time. The fire listens too, flaring in rhythm with the sound. One by one, sleep takes them. The children first, their heads resting against hides, their breathing soft and even. The mothers next, their bodies curling around the young, forming a wall of warmth. The elders drift into slumber, their faces softening, their voices silenced for now. Only the hunters remain half awake, their eyes still on the dark, their hands on their spears. But even they drift in and out, their bodies trained to wake at the faintest sound, at the smallest shift in the night. Outside, the forest lives on. Owls sweep silently between branches, small creatures scurry beneath snow and leaf. The wolves circle, unseen but never far, their eyes gleam in the distance, reflecting firelight they do not dare approach. The wind carries their scent, sharp and wild, into the cave, mixing with the smoke. The fire burns on. Its crackle is the only heartbeat that matters. It holds back the dark, holds back the cold, holds back the endless hunger waiting beyond the cave mouth. And within its glow, The average caveman sleeps, not safely, never safely, but enough to rise again with the dawn. Night settles like a heavy cloak upon the valley. The last streaks of twilight fade behind the mountains, leaving the world suspended in shadow. The forest grows still, its daytime voices muted, replaced by the cautious stirrings of nocturnal life. A chill seeps into the air, sharp and insistent, carrying the scent of damp earth, pine and the musk of unseen creatures. The cave glows faintly against this darkness, its mouth a wound of firelight carved into stone. Inside, the fire is everything. Its glow is sun, its warmth is shelter, its voice the only defiance against the vast silence pressing in from the night. Sparks leap upward, chasing smoke toward the blackened roof, before vanishing like fading stars. Around the flames, the tribe forms a circle as they have done for generations, their bodies curved inward, their shadows long and trembling. The hunters sit closest to the cave mouth, their silhouettes cut sharp against the glow, spears balanced across their knees. Their eyes are fixed outward, watching the dark, listening for the smallest crack of twig or shift of wind. They do not relax, not fully, even in the heart of the fire's light. Danger is never far. Behind them, mothers hold their children close, wrapping them in skins, pressing them against their own warmth. The children fidget, whisper, fight the heaviness in their eyes, but the fire and the hum of voices draw them slowly toward stillness. The elders lean nearest to the flames, their bones thin and brittle, their faces carved with lines deepened by flickering light. They are not merely old, they are memory itself, carriers of the stories that bind past to present. The wolves begin their song. One voice rises from the ridge, long and low, stretching thin across the valley. Another answers, closer, then another until the night trembles with sound. The children freeze, their small hands clutching at mother's arms. The hunters do not move, but their eyes sharpen, spears shifting slightly in their grip. The elders remain still, their faces unreadable, as if the wolves' cries are simply another part of the world, like the wind or the river. The howls fade, leaving silence heavy in the cave. Then the elder speaks. His voice is rough but steady, carrying easily through the stillness. He does not raise it, he does not need to. Every ear bends toward him, every breath quiets. He tells of an old hunt, a story from before memory, when men and women faced beasts larger than trees. His hands rise and fall with the tail, shaping the curve of antlers, the strike of spears, the fall of the giant creature. His voice rises with the chase, falls with the kill, steadies with the firelit feast that followed. The children lean forward, eyes wide, caught in the rhythm of words. The adults listen too, not because the story is new, it is not, but because the act of telling is what binds them. The story is reminder, warning, memory given voice so it will not be lost. When the tale ends, silence lingers, heavy with its weight. Then a woman begins to hum. The sound is low, almost beneath hearing, a vibration more than melody. Another voice joins hers, then another, until the cave vibrates with a single note carried by many throats. It is not song, not yet, but it is enough. The children relax, their breath slowing. The hunter's shoulders ease slightly, though their eyes remain on the dark. The fire flares in rhythm with the hum, as if listening too. Shadows twist along the walls, becoming more than shapes. They take on life, the spread of wings, the leap of predators, the curve of horns. The children point, whisper, but their mothers hush them gently. Still, the shadows are not feared. They are reminders of what lies beyond the fire, lessons written in smoke and light. Sleep comes slowly, cautiously. The youngest fall first, their small bodies curled against hides, their breaths even and soft. The mothers drift after, their arms still curled protectively around their children. The elders close their eyes, their stories spent, their voices quiet for now. Only the hunters remain awake, their eyes half-lidded, but always alert, their ears tuned to the night. They drift in and out of half-sleep, trained to wake at the faintest sound, the slightest change in the wind. Outside, the forest lives on. Owls sweep silently between branches, mice scurry beneath snow and leaf, their tiny claws scratching faint rhythms against the earth. The wolves circle, unseen but not absent, their eyes gleam in the distance, reflecting the firelight they will not cross. Hunger drives them closer, but fire is a boundary older than memory, one they respect with wary distance. as enduring as stone. The night thickens until the world beyond the cave is nothing but shadow and sound. Darkness lies heavy across the valley, swallowing the river, the trees, the stones, until only the fire remains, one fragile circle of light, trembling against an endless void. Every crackle of flame feels louder, every breath within the cave sharper, as though silence itself is listening. The elder stirs, his eyes catch the firelight, reflecting it as if they still carry the sun of long-forgotten days. He clears his throat, the rasp of age softened by patience, and the hum that has filled the cave falls away. His voice rises, low but steady, carrying with it the weight of memory. He does not speak of hunts now, nor of storms endured. Instead he tells of fire itself. He speaks of a time before flame, when men and women huddled in darkness, their bodies shaking, their nights endless. He tells of storms that broke trees, of lightning that split the sky, of a spark that fell to earth and caught the grass. He speaks of the first hands that reached for it, cautious, fearful, desperate, and of the moment they understood that fire could be tamed. His hands shape the story as he speaks, fingers curling like smoke, palms opening like sparks. The children watch wide-eyed, their small bodies pressed close to their mothers, the fire itself flickering brighter, as if it remembers too. The hunters lean closer, though their eyes never leave the cave mouth. They know the story, have heard it since they were children, but they listen again, as though each retelling adds a new thread to the fabric that binds them to the flame. The women hum softly in rhythm with the elders' words, their voices weaving a low music beneath his story. When the tale ends, silence falls heavy once more. The fire pops, sending sparks into the dark. A child reaches upward, laughing softly as the sparks vanish before they can be touched. His mother hushes him gently, but a smile lingers on her lips. Even in the weight of survival, joy finds its place, brief but bright as flame. The wolves call again, their voices rise from the ridge, closer now, sharper, hungry. The hunters stiffen, their spears lifting slightly. The fire is fed with a thick log, its flames leaping higher, casting long shadows across the cave. The tribe waits, listening, their bodies tense. The howls echo, then fade, leaving only the crackle of fire and the soft breathing of children. Danger lingers, but it does not come. Sleep returns slowly, one by one, eyes close, heads rest against stone, against shoulders, against hides. The fire burns on, its glow steady, its warmth constant. The hunters remain half awake, their bodies trained to rouse at the faintest sound, but even they drift into dreams, their minds slipping into places where the hunt never ends, where beasts larger than memory move through endless forests. Dreams fill the cave. The children dream of shadows that become animals, of fire that grows wings and soars into the night. The mothers dream of rivers that never freeze, of berries that never sour, of seasons where hunger is only a story. The hunters dream of the chase, of spears that fly true, of prey that always falls. The elder dreams of voices long gone, voices that once told him the same stories he now carries, voices that echo still in the rhythm of fire and hum. Outside, the night holds its breath. The wolves prowl, their eyes gleaming, their hunger sharp, but they do not cross the line of flame. The forest shifts and whispers, its creatures moving in silence, its branches bending under the weight of cold air. The river groans beneath its ice, a low, constant murmur, and still the fire burns. Its glow holds the tribe together, binding them to one another, to the cave, to the memory of every night, survived before this one. Within its light, the average caveman sleeps, not safely, never safely, but deeply enough to wake again. Survival is not victory, it is endurance, and for this night, endurance is enough. The fire settles into its deepest rhythm, the flames no longer leaping but pulsing, steady, as if matching the heartbeats of those who lie around it. Beyond the circle of light, the night is vast, absolute. Every sound carries weight. The whisper of branches rubbing together, the slow crack of ice shifting in the river, the distant roll of a stone loosened by some unseen foot, all of it sharp, all of it measured by the ears of the hunters at the cave mouth. One of them stirs, leaning forward, his silhouette dark against the glow. His eyes catch the faint glint of movement beyond, low and fluid, just at the edge of vision. He grips his spear,
the point catching a faint shimmer of firelight. The others notice but do not move. They know the rhythm of the wolves. They circle close, testing, watching, waiting for weakness, but they do not cross. The line of fire is a boundary older than memory, a barrier written into the bones of predator and prey alike. Inside, the elder shifts. His voice, rough but strong, rises once more. This time it is not a story of hunts or fire. It is a myth, a dream given words. He speaks of the moon, pale and distant, watching over the earth. He says it was once a great beast, white and silent, that walked the sky. Its breath was the wind, its eyes the stars, its hoofs the thunder. Men feared it, for it saw all and judged all. But one night, a hunter raised his spear, not to kill but to beg. He asked the beast to light the night, to watch over the caves, to guide the hunters home. And so the beast rose higher beyond reach, and became the moon. Now it watches still, patient, silent, lighting the paths of those who walk beneath it. The children listen, eyes wide, their faces glowing in firelight. One whispers to another, pointing toward the cave mouth, where the moonlight seeps in, pale and cold. The elder smiles faintly, the lines of his face softening. The story is not truth, not in the way of stone and bone, but it is truth in love. It explains the unexplainable. It binds the tribe to the sky as fire binds them to the earth. The hunters at the entrance glance upward too, though they say nothing. The moonlight touches their faces, making their eyes glint, like the wolves outside. For a moment, the fire and the moon seem to speak to one another too, the one warm and flickering, the other cold and eternal. Together they hold the night at bay. The mothers hum again, their voices soft, low, weaving through the crackle of the fire. The children sink deeper into sleep, their small bodies curling like seeds beneath hides. The elders close their eyes, their stories spent for now, their breath slow, steady, fragile. The hunters remain, half in dream, half in watchfulness, their spears never fall. Outside, the forest shifts. An owl sweeps silently past the cave, its wings brushing the air with a sound like cloth torn slowly. The wolves answer again, their howls sharper, hungrier, but still they do not cross. The fire hisses, spits and holds, and within this circle of warmth and light, the tribe drifts into dreams. The elder dreams of the white beast of the sky, walking once more across the mountains. The hunters dream of stags with antlers like branches, of rivers that run forever, of hunts that never fail. The children dream of shadows turned to animals, of fire that flies, of a world where the dark is not so deep. The cave breathes with them, the fire glows, the night presses close, and in the fragile hours between dusk and dawn, the average caveman endures, not in triumph, not in peace, but in the slow, patient rhythm that has carried humankind through countless nights before, and will carry them through countless nights to come. ChatGPT Plus. The fire sinks low, its flames reduced to a bed of glowing embers. They breathe slowly, red and alive, whispering smoke into the cave, like the last sighs of the day. Around them the tribe lies in silence, mothers and children pressed together, the elders folded into hides, the hunters still seated at the mouth, half sleeping, half watching. The air is heavy with the smell of ash, hide, and the faint sweetness of dried meat. Beyond the cave, the forest is a living shadow. The wolves no longer call, they drift elsewhere, their hunger guiding them to softer prey. The wind dies down, leaving the valley still, wrapped in frost and moonlight. The river groans beneath its frozen skin, and the trees stand like black sentinels, unmoving, eternal. The elder opens his eyes once more, his gaze lingers on the fire, on the small tongues of flame still rising. In a voice no louder than a breath, he speaks a final line, meant not for teaching, not for warning, but for memory. The fire lives if we live. The fire sleeps if we die. Keep it always. No one answers. They do not need to. The words settle into the stone, into the smoke, into the bones of the tribe itself. Slowly, sleep takes them all. The cave grows quiet, save for the soft crackle of coals, and the rhythm of steady breathing. The hunters' heads bow at last, though their hands still rest on spears. The children dream against their mother's warmth. The elder drifts into the silence of age, his stories safe for another night. The moon climbs higher, silver and distant, watching as it always has. Its pale light touches the cave mouth, a reminder that darkness is never complete, that something always endures. The fire holds, the tribe sleeps, the valley waits for dawn, and so the night passes, another fragile thread woven into the endless fabric of survival. For the average caveman, this is life, to endure the dark, to guard the flame, to wake with the sun, again and again, until the days themselves shape the memory of humankind.